Welcome to The Explainer. Imagine this. It's 3 in the morning. You're lying awake, just staring blankly at the ceiling, and your mind is completely racing through every single financial disaster that could hit tomorrow. Your laptop dying, your car breaking down, or maybe you're just at the grocery store doing that mental math, wondering if you can actually afford the name brand cereal or if you've got to settle for the generic stuff that kind of tastes like cardboard. Sound familiar? Well, most people think the magic fix to this anxiety is just making more money. But today, we're diving into the research to unpack a way deeper hurdle you've got to clear first. And honestly, it's the absolute hardest part of the entire wealth building journey. We've all been fed this massive myth that saving your first $1,000 is just a simple math problem, right? Financial gurus love to tell you, hey, just skip a few lattes and boom, the money magically appears in your bank account. But seriously, if it were actually that easy, why does it feel like you're fighting a literal war against your own brain every single time you try to put a little cash away? Well, we're going to break down exactly why saving that first thousand isn't about math at all. Actually, scratch that. It's a profound psychological identity crisis.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the brutal first step. It's not just math.
Let's start by validating something really important here. Making that jump from being a spender to being a saver, it is exhausting. Saving your first $1,000 is absolutely brutal because it takes immense willpower and some really significant lifestyle changes. It's a massive friction point because you're actively fighting against your own ingrained behaviors. And a huge part of the problem is just how we frame the goal. Most people treat saving money like a temporary crash diet. They think, okay, I'll just slash all my expenses to the bone for a few months, save aggressively, and then I'm good. But just like a crash diet, treating your finances this way pretty much always fails. You inevitably burn out, the deprivation just becomes way too much, and you rebound right back into those old spending habits. You can't just change your spending for a weekend. You have to completely change your underlying mindset. Moving right along to Section 2, Trapped in Survival Mode, the Brain on Scarcity. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get why we struggle so much, we need to look at the psychological diagnosis of what's actually happening in our heads when money is tight. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, your brain is operating in what psychologists call survival mode. In this state, literally every single financial decision you make is filtered through this intense lens of fear and scarcity. Your mental bandwidth is completely hijacked by immediate threats. This is exactly why you might find yourself panicking over basic stuff, like how you're going to cover rent, or sweating over a simple $25 dinner with friends because it might totally wreck your weekly budget. You aren't making bad choices because you're foolish, you're making them because your brain is hyper-focused on merely surviving the day. Which brings us to Section 3, the status trap, the illusion of wealth. You see, society knows exactly how our brains work, and there are active pressures that prey on our survival mode, totally tricking us into making poor financial choices just to soothe our anxieties. Think about the success mirage. We see it every single day on the highway, right? That gleaming monster of a brand new truck covered in chrome with luxury leather seats that literally cost more than your monthly rent. Well, a lot of times, the person driving that truck is actually making less money than you are. But they've bought into a carefully orchestrated system of emotional manipulation. Their vehicle has become an extension of their identity. They're actively choosing to look successful, all while remaining incredibly financially fragile. Now, contrast this with the freedom first mindset, which is all about delaying gratification for true, rock-solid, long-term security. The driver of that gleaming truck is literally one check engine light away from a total financial disaster. Notice the huge contrast here because your identity completely dictates your reality. When you actively choose to reject that success mirage and put your freedom first, your whole world changes. An unexpected expense, like a massive $500 to $3,000 car problem, suddenly stops being a life-ruining catastrophe. Instead, because you actually have a financial buffer, it becomes nothing more than a minor, boring inconvenience. And honestly, that is the true power of having your first $1,000 saved. Let's look at how to change this in Section 4, the identity shift, rewiring your brain. So the crucial point is, to get to a place of true security, you absolutely have to stop the endless hunt for immediate gratification. Overcoming this crisis means completely changing who you believe you are at your core. You have to stop thinking of saving as some kind of temporary sacrifice or punishment. Instead, you've got to become a completely different type of person, someone who values their future freedom way more than today's immediate pleasure. Becoming someone who can delay gratification isn't a restriction. I'd argue it's the single most valuable financial superpower you can ever develop. Let's map out how this builds into a clear psychological journey. Step 1 is winning that initial identity war and saving that very first $1,000. Once you do that, step 2 naturally kicks in. You actually rewire your brain. The habit of being a saver becomes almost automatic, which means saving your second $1,000 is noticeably easier. You're not constantly gasping for financial air anymore, so you start seeing all these new opportunities to reduce expenses. And that momentum leads right into step 3, reaching that massive $10,000 milestone. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate payoff of this journey. Reaching that $10,000 milestone isn't just about the numbers sitting in a bank account. It actually comes with profound biological rewards. Your body literally starts to respond differently to stress. Your cortisol levels actively lower. The mental energy that used to be totally consumed by panic and survival mode is suddenly freed up, allowing you to take a deep breath and calmly focus on big picture growth and true wealth building. But again, you have to remember, none of this biological relief happens until you win that very first war of identity. So let's talk about getting started in Section 5, your first step, starting ridiculously small. Now, if you're currently staring at a bank balance that looks more like a phone number from the 1950s, do not panic. The solution to breaking the cycle starts incredibly small. We're talking about starting with as little as $25 or $50 a month. That is your starting line. When you're just beginning to shift your identity, you have to focus entirely on the consistency of the habit rather than the size of the check. It's the physical act of saving, repeated over and over again, that finally tells your brain, hey, you are now a saver. Prove to yourself today that you are the type of person who keeps their money instead of just earning it. You have to stop playing a rigged game that is literally designed to keep you broke. Stop playing a game designed to keep you anxious. Put your freedom first. Let's get that first $1,000 put away. Do it so you can finally take a real breath and step out of survival mode for good. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this one thought. Will you stay caught in the status trap, forever chasing a mirage of success while living in constant financial fear? Or will you choose the harder but infinitely more rewarding path? Will you choose to shift your identity, delay gratification, and start building your actual freedom today? The choice is entirely yours. Start small, stay consistent, and take that very first step.